Hello and welcome to Roald Kala Facilitation. I am Roald, your psychedelic facilitator and psychedelic life coach. Today, I want to help you understand why psychedelics are the quintessential key you're missing in your self development journey. You see, there's something quite fascinating I've noticed in my years of helping people improve their lives. There are three essential roles that need to work together to create real, lasting change. You can think of it as the trinity of transformation, and most people are missing the most powerful part. That part is the shamanic element, working alongside psychology and coaching. To understand why this trinity is so powerful, let's examine how these three parts work together. The main functions of the three parts are understanding, direction, and breakthrough. Understanding being the role of psychology, direction the role of coaching, and breakthrough the role of shamanism and the psychedelic experience. The psychologist's main role is to understand the psyche and mental world you inhabit as deeply as possible. This understanding then informs the goals you wish to attain and how to best go about achieving them. The understanding creates clarity on the direction. Let's look at a quick example to see why this is important. Meet Jack, a 16-year-old guy whose father is a medal-winning bodybuilder. Jack has been grinding at the gym day in and day out, making impressive progress towards his goal of getting jacked. But something isn't quite right. His grades are slipping, his friends barely see him anymore. Yesterday, his girlfriend broke up with him, saying she doesn't feel prioritized. And today, standing in front of the mirror, at his target weight, flexing his newly gained muscles, Jack feels nothing, just hollow. I find him by the river, tears streaming down his face, and over a shared moment and a heart-to-heart conversation, the truth emerges. Jack isn't chasing muscles. He's chasing his father's identity. He's never given himself permission to explore who he wants to be. The real work isn't about sets and reps. It's about helping Jack discover his authentic interests and passions while building a healthy relationship with fitness that supports rather than consumes his identity. This is a classic example of how understanding shapes direction. Not understanding this sooner took a heavy toll on his personal development and relationships. The lesson here is not to run too fast in the wrong direction. But you can only know what the wrong direction is after putting more effort into understanding your own psyche and motivations. But here's also where both psychology and coaching face their biggest challenges. Let's look at psychology first. Even with the best therapist, understanding your own psyche is like trying to perform surgery on yourself while looking in a mirror. There are massive blind spots. Our conscious mind can only access what it is ready to see. Jack might spend months or even years in therapy before realizing his relationship with bodybuilding is actually about his father. Why? Because our deepest motivations are often hidden from our conscious awareness. And this brings us to the limitations of coaching. Even the best coach in the world can only work with what you're consciously aware of. They're like a GPS, incredibly effective at getting you where you want to go, but only if you know your true destination. When Jack first started his fitness journey, any coach would have helped him get jacked, because that's what he thought he wanted. They would have made excellent training programs, nutrition plans, and help keep him accountable, but they would have been helping him run faster in the wrong direction. This is where most self-development journeys hit a wall. You either spend years in therapy trying to understand yourself, make progress towards goals that aren't truly aligned with who you are, or both. And this is where psychedelics become such a powerful tool. Let's go back to Jack for in a carefully guided psychedelic session. Jack might experience a profound vision of himself as a child watching his father on stage at a bodybuilding competition. He feels both the pride and the crushing weight of those expectations. Then suddenly, he sees himself in different moments painting, writing, exploring nature, feeling a lightness and joy he'd forgotten existed. In just hours, he accessed emotional truths that might have taken years to uncover in traditional therapy. More importantly, he doesn't just understand these truths intellectually, he feels them in his heart and soul. The unconscious has become conscious and can now be more easily acted upon. When the unconscious becomes conscious through breakthrough experiences, new understanding becomes possible. But there's something crucial to understand. Transformation isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous cycle. Each breakthrough leads to a deeper understanding, which reveals new directions, which eventually calls for new breakthroughs. As your understanding deepens and you follow new directions, you naturally evolve. Not because your previous insights were wrong, but because each breakthrough has expanded your perspective. This is why I call it the Trinity of Personal Transformation. Understanding guides direction. Direction leads you to your next breakthrough. And each breakthrough deepens your understanding, creating an endless spiral of growth. It's a journey that continues throughout all of life, each cycle taking you deeper into your authentic self. Now that you understand how these three elements work together, let's explore why this combination is so powerful by looking at some of the biggest challenges in personal development and how this trinity solves them. Let me show you a clear breakdown of exactly how psychedelics address these limitations. On the left, you'll see the challenges of traditional approaches, and on the right, the solution psychedelics offer. Keep in mind that these are the things the psychedelic experience can do, but they're not guaranteed to always have these effects. And while these benefits are backed by research and experience, remember that psychedelics are powerful tools that require proper guidance and integration. Please see the link to my integration video in the description. The limitations for psychology. You can only work with what's conscious. And a common theme in the solutions that psychedelics offer is that they reveal the unconscious. So for example, people can't articulate their deepest fears and desires, and the psychedelics can create a direct experience of that unconscious material related to your fears and desires. Now, of course, not all blind spots in self-awareness will be revealed through psychedelics always, but psychedelics do have a tendency to reveal the blind spot through visceral experiences, and they do it in many ways. Another benefit of the psychedelic experience is that it temporarily dissolves the ego defenses, as to where in traditional therapy you might feel you're not safe to discuss this with the therapist, or it's an ego defense where you're not even safe to think about it just between you and yourself. And on psychedelics, that is less of an issue. And another benefit of psychedelics is that it can open access to repressed memories and emotions. So if you have childhood trauma, PTSD, anything that's repressed, the psychedelics can reveal that. And what's beautiful about the psychedelics is that usually they don't reveal too much. So it's not a all at once. So if you have a lot of trauma, you usually don't get dealt more than you can handle. Another important piece to consider about the limitations of psychology is that the rational analysis has limits. And the mirror for the psychedelics here is that they provide experiential understanding. The first example here being that some experiences can't be thought through. And sometimes just knowing something isn't enough. You have to have that emotional and bodily knowing to truly feel safe. Because how we feel about ourselves and the world isn't just about what we intellectually understand. It's an entire being thing. So the psychedelic experience can often create emotional and bodily knowing. It also allows feeling and processing without intellectual barriers. So for someone who's struggling to understand their emotions and is very logic-based, this can be extremely helpful to help you get an understanding of your emotions and be able to navigate them in a different way, releasing you from the logical restraints that usually be in place. Another limitation is that body held trauma doesn't respond to talk therapy necessarily. It can, right? But generally that's not the more somatic approaches have a higher tendency of being able to help in those scenarios. And the psychedelics too can facilitate a somatic release of stored trauma. And the understanding alone doesn't create change. And the psychedelics combine insight with emotional and neurological shifts, making it more likely to create that change you're seeking. Another part of psychology that is a limiting factor is the time constraints. For example, it could take years to uncover root causes, whereas psychedelics can reveal core issues in a single session. And with regular methods, weekly sessions limit breakthrough potential and progress can be incredibly slow. While with a psychedelic experience, you can create months or even years worth of insights in hours, and it also catalyzes rapid shifts in perspective. Psychedelic solutions also allow you to access previously unreachable material that would perhaps never surface in regular therapy. Now we're going to dive into the coaching aspect limitations, primarily being that they can only work with stated goals. And the psychedelics reveal true needs, which is both really useful for coaching as well as psychology. And as we discussed earlier in this video, goals might be the symptoms, not the root causes. And the psychedelics help us see the underlying motivations behind surface desires. And the second point here reiterates that in slightly different wording. An important nuance here is that surface level changes don't address the deeper needs, and the psychedelics help connect the goals to deeper purpose. There are some important motivational barriers and limitations to consider, and a good point to be aware of is that psychedelics help transform the resistance. I always say this, and we already know what to do, but knowing what to do doesn't create the will to do it, and the psychedelics help create that emotional buy-in for change. Another thing when we try and achieve goals is that we have resistance patterns that we don't understand why we're self-sabotaging, or just the resistance is where we procrastinate, and just those different resistance patterns that we don't understand where they arise from, and the psychedelics help reveal the sources of those resistance patterns clearly. And the next 2 points offer more nuance on that same dynamic for whether it's self-sabotage or an emotional block. And one thing psychedelics are really good at is dissolving emotional barriers. Not always just directly. Sometimes that's your ego defenses dropping, and other times it actually gives you an experience that heals the root cause of that emotional barrier, and that way the barrier just naturally falls down. Not just because temporarily the psychedelics just dimmed that, but actually because you healed the core issue there. As a life coach, I can attest to that good advice fails without emotional readiness. Even if someone is paying you for something, sometimes they're still not like they feel like they want to make that change, but really because other people told them to do it or whatever it is, but really they're not emotionally bought in. And the psychedelics can help with that. The unconscious patterns can override the conscious intentions, and the psychedelics have more of a tendency to align the unconscious patterns with conscious goals. And change requires more than strategic planning, and the psychedelic provides an embodied experience of new patterns. The map is not the territory is a saying that comes to mind here. As where coaching, you can view that as the map. Actually, having that embodied experience is the territory. And with coaching, you always might have the chance that tools and techniques don't address the root cause, but the psychedelics always have a tendency to address the core issues behind surface behaviors. As you can see, these limitations aren't just theoretical. They're the real barriers that keep people stuck, sometimes for their entire lives. I've seen countless individuals who spent years in therapy, worked with multiple coaches, read every self-help book, but only began their real transformation when they added this missing piece to their journey. This trinity, understanding, direction, and breakthrough, isn't just another framework. It's a practical pathway to lasting transformation. If you're ready to experience this for yourself, to go beyond understanding and into real breakthrough, I invite you to explore working together. We're taking a quick break for a blatant personal ad. I am now offering online psychedelic guidance and integration packages. So, whether you're a first-timer or an experienced explorer, need help preparing and planning for your first experience, or support integrating a really difficult one, you can get my assistance at any stage of your psychedelic path. You can find the information you need for this in the description of this video. Remember, your journey of growth doesn't have to take decades. Sometimes you just need the right key to unlock the door.
Greetings, human. I'm a divine psychedelic entity, and it is imperative to the great plan that you like, subscribe, and comment below. Also, watch some more of these videos.
This again? Shoo! Don't do it because he told you to. Do it if you feel like it.